Hello everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arrowfire. Welcome to another episode of Look Out and Shout. And we're going to have a few of these through December because today we are reviewing MMC Ocular Max PS-24 Incertus, their version of a G1 groove of the Protectobots. We have been doing these so far, 3 of the videos out, 3 of the figures out, and now we are on to their latest release, their latest leg bot in their all-in-one built combiner. I was always a bit so-so on Groove. I did like him, but I always felt his lack of bio never really helped, so I never cared too much of the character, and I don't think he got that many speaking lines in the cartoon. It was really more hotspot and first aid. But I'm always interested when it comes to bikes. I think bikes are a trickier alt mode to try and work together, and I think it's always a bit of a challenge, particularly with an all-in-one feature, so I was very interested to see how they were going to do. But of course, you too can pick up your own copy of this from showzstore.com, where, if you can be so kind, please do remember to use your favourite reviewer code FIRE1, F-Y-R-E-1. Any points that you then generate from your purchases are automatically shared to mine, which leads to further reviews taking place. As always, thank you very much for your ongoing support and everyone who has supported me so far. Right, let's have a look at this guy, shall we? And here he is in his robot mode. I hope the camera does it justice, because that is a surprisingly nice paint scheme, or colour scheme. I was worried, particularly for a white light box, that he would just be white, a bit like First Aid was in this set. Not that that was bad, and not that it's not true to the character, but I thought if he was just going to be block white from head to toe, that there wouldn't be too much to talk about. But I'm very pleased to say the gold is very nice, more of a dirty gold or a bronze even. And with the silver that's used on the upper arms, the arms in general, the biceps, it really breaks up what would otherwise be solid white. So I do think to look at, there's a lot of attractiveness here. The only thing I can say possibly a little negative about it is the face sculpt, and you'll see that in a minute. I thought that a little bit, looking at the product shots before it was released, that I thought the face could look a little bit forgettable, but that's somewhat by the by. Presence out of the box, he's actually quite cool. He's got a nice, I like the sizing to him, I like the sculpturing. I think everything is proportioned really well. He's surprisingly clean round the back, because I think this part of the bike is more sunken into the body than I would expect it to be. Even the wheels don't hang out that much. I think bikes are very difficult to do for Transformers. You generally have to do a biped robot into a fairly slender alt mode, and it becomes very difficult. I think they've done a very good job here, certainly on first impressions. Let's get in for a closer look. What I'll quickly do is just show you what I mean with his face sculpt. It's okay, this isn't the face he comes with, this is his happy face which I've put on, and I'll show you the other one in a minute. But you can see what I mean, like the eyes there, it's all one piece, it's all just gold. And I know they're supposed to be like sunglasses, a visor kind of look, but when it's all gold you can't really see any definition, and I think his face gets a little bit lost, which is a shame, because when he's got the happy face on, it's nice. It's nice to see a gold faceplate. We don't see it too often. So, I don't know. I know it's faithful to the character, but it would be cool if the eyes were maybe a black or a blue or something to give it a bit of distinction, rather than just one solid piece from eyes down to chin. And he has got a bit of a chin on the go, I will say that. But otherwise, he's really, really cool. The ankles, yeah, I don't know if you've heard, they're not fabulous. They're okay. But this is where, again, bike mode and his very dainty feet do come into it. I don't know if this is meant in the instructions, but these parts of the feet, which I think are the seat for the alt mode, for the bike mode, if you push them down ever so slightly, it just gives you that little bit of ankle support. I don't know if that's intended or if that's a bit of a byproduct of it. What I'll also point out is the tyre here. Now, it's rubber, hooray for rubber, but interestingly that they cut it in half, and I was really pleased to see that, to get what is looking like a half crescent effect for the tyre to split down the middle and to then clip together for a single wheel, rear wheel in alt mode. It could have been really easy to make that plastic. That must have been a bit awkward to do, so I'm very glad that they've done that, and it's given that kind of split up, easier look. It would have looked odd if it was just one singular tyre on one side. They've cut it in half and it's still rubber, I think that's very nicely done. It could have been a lot worse. Also, look at some of the gubbins on here of where you've got like the engine and the pistons. I love that. I think that is so clever. You can see how much the front wheel is sunken into the body. They thought quite well about housing it, considering it has got some posability to it as well. Speaking of which, let's show you some of the posability. The head is awkward, and I think there is wary of chipping this around it. It's also a bit tight, like that's about as much as you can get, and he can look up a bit, but I don't know if it's this neck piece that's round here or if it's just a joint it's on, but it's very tight and it is tricky, and I don't feel massively comfortable moving it. Shoulder is nice out on a friction. Move out as well, although this piece here, if you can see it, that does come a bit untransformed. Also gives a bit of a extra mobility, but that's something to be mindful of. Bicep rotation, very tight. Oh, you can maybe hear the squeaking and the rubbing there. That's a little bit uncomfortable to do so, but elbow bend, which is more than 90 degrees, and when he holds his gun there, that's very nice. I'll show you the gun in a second. Wrist rotation, thumb to move round to hold for the gun, first finger out. Oh no, individual fingers. Again, they're a little tight, so it can give the impression of individual, class finger movement, but all individual fingers there moving outward. Waist rotation on a almost ratchet. There's a bit of a jankiness to it as well. Ab crunch, very welcome. I wasn't sure that was going to happen, particularly as he doesn't need it for alt mode. Moving up the hip skirt to get leg rotation out. Ratchet there, not the heaviest. More than a 90-degree bend at the knee. Very nice. Ankle tilt, well down to the 90. Toe tilt down, no, but he can toe tilt up, but that's part of the transformation. Now, in terms of his gun, I don't know if it's my copy. He has got a similar one to, I think, how Streetwise was. It's a peg that goes into the groove of his hand. It's a bit snug. It will go in, but I did spend a while getting it in the first time. It keeps wanting to fight. I don't know if the groove, pardon the pun, is a bit small for it. Doesn't absolutely slot in, but once it's in, it's good. Now, in terms of his other accessories that he comes with this, which, if you can see it, and it actually says in the instructions, hand nozzle. So that goes straight on his hand. Pops off easy enough. There's the new one going on, and there you go. He can make ice cream. I don't really remember this. I think I do. I think I do remember a scene where he's like pointing down with it, but it's an odd accessory to go with. I don't feel it's entirely necessary. A gun would have done. I think all the other limb-bots for this set are just coming with their gun and very few other accessories. So, yeah, that's an odd choice, but that's what he's like with it on. Of course, his other accessories are his feet. Well, not so much his feet, these guns that peg into the side. If you remember the old G1 toy, you'll kind of know where this is from. It's more for being armoured up in vehicle mode than to have them on for robot mode, but that's where they'll sit in either mode anyway. So I just thought it's better to leave them on. It just gives them a bit more of an armoured look. Now, I forgot to mention around the neck. This is strange. I'll be honest, when I first saw it, I thought that was an odd neck configuration. It looks very high compared to the chest, but it says in the instructions you can have in two configurations. You could have it raised up here like this, or you can have this centre part sunken in. The trouble is when you do so, and I'll show you that, the head almost has no rotation left and right for hitting these two collars either side. So this is how he looks in one configuration. He can look perfectly fine left and right, but it does look a little bit separated from the chest. And all you do is push it down like that, and you have a more collapsed feel. And whilst it might look better, now he really can't turn his head at all. So yeah, like he's wearing a neck brace. It does look better to the eye. It looks more natural, but sacrificing neck posability is a shame. It's probably all it is a shame, but nothing more than that. But yeah, if you wanted to then change face plates, if you wanted to get into posability, you have to pop the neck back up again, which is fine, you can do so, but it's an odd choice for it. Now, just to show you what I mean around his faceplate, that's not the one he comes with. He comes with a much more classic passive face, which is here. You might not see it. It's all nose. Actually, you can see the shade my finger's giving. That's where the eyes would be. But it's just a flatline face, and it's just got a circular peg on the back of it. Alternatively, he does come with an angry face, which I don't know if you'll see, but does have like a white backing for teeth. And that's good, that's quite cool. I quite like that. To get it on is a little bit tricky given the positioning of the head. So you just have to be a little bit, well, say gentle, somehow forceful yet gentle. This is awkward, I find, because you've got to try and get the fanned out points in with the cheeks, and yeah, I don't think anyone's really got this measure down. And there he is with the angry face on. Yeah, I would advise, if you're going to do it, get the nose in first, almost tilted downwards, like you're coming down from the top of the forehead, and then try and move back to the singular peg that's there. For the purpose of the review, I'm going to leave that on. I think I prefer the happy face. It goes a bit more with Gru's character, at least I like to think so. The angry face is quite good, and I've sunken it down. It does look better, but I find it's a bit of a shame that it sacrificed neck movement to do so. Okay, on to some comparisons. Here he is alongside MMC's, or Ocular Max's, first offering of the set, their Medicus, their first aid. You can see advancements, I think, but there is differences in as much as completely different alt modes, a much squarer alt mode, much thinner alt mode, and this is going to be a leg, that's going to be an arm. But I do think you do see developments and changes over time. It does seem to be a bit of a trend with this set. Ankle posability, movement restrictions, tightness seems to be a problem. Even first aid, it's got pretty good ankles. Just getting him set and in position is more fiddly than it should be. And the ankles are possibly the weakest thing on this figure, even with the feet being as dainty as they are. They look really good together. This is what I was saying at the start of the video. I feared he would come out very block white, like first aid. I thought Groove would look very much like this, and it would just be a very swamped colour for what is a very light colour palette. But I'm pleased with the silver. If you see that on camera, and you saw it earlier around the arms, kind of break that up a little bit. But these two look really cool together. And here he is alongside MMC's Navigant, their streetwise from this set. I was pretty clear in my review of this, it was quite a while ago now, this isn't my favourite figure. I think they've kind of done a bit of a misstep. And when you look at these two, as these are both going to be legs, and they are different alt modes, but it's kind of night and day. I feel this guy's just got a lot more going on. Just proportions are better. Even with some of the tolerances issues that this guy's got, it's just got more going for it than Streetwise. And when you put them side by side, it is quite noticeable. This looks quite outdated, yet it was the second release after First Aid, who you just saw. Yeah, it's a shame. I think this could even look a bit funny when it's all combined and said and done, because, well, look how different they are in vibrance. And they're going to be alongside each other as legs. This is going to look very dull alongside something like this, even in combined mode. But that's how they look nevertheless. Okay, well, got to get it done. Here he is alongside MMC's Ignis, their hotspot, Groove's leader. I am such a big fan of this as a robot. I think it's really cool. I really do enjoy messing around with it. When you get all of the limbs together, and I'll put them all together in a second, and when you put Groove alongside him, who is possibly the tallest limb released so far, I'm finally ready to concede that this guy's too big. He absolutely dwarfs them. And okay, I know Hotspot was bigger, but yeah, I don't know. It's a good look. What they're doing is really cool. But yeah, he's too big, isn't he? If you're going to be in keeping. But this is part of the all-in-one feature. You know, I've been over this before. But if I get all of them alongside together, I mean, it's a great looking set, don't get me wrong, but should he be that much bigger? And it's more apparent the more smaller ones you have. So when Blades is going to turn up here somewhere, it's going to look so noticeable. It's like the big kid in school just sitting in the back. I like him. I do like him. But yeah, it's more noticeable to me now. Now I have 3 Limbots in a row. When you put the 3 of these guys together, I think they look really cool. You do see kind of a brotherhood vibe going on. It's really nice. But yeah, when you put them with their leader, it's like, oh wow, you absolutely tower over them. Well, that's MMC's choice. They wanted the all-in-one engineering, and it comes with a sacrifice. Okay, I thought this was a bit of an interesting comparison for size. Here he is alongside Fans Toys Jabba. That's odd. That's unusual. Blur and this particular Jabba is a tricky one, isn't it? I do get the impression Blur was bigger. I think Fans Toys have made their one smaller. I can't think of many, if any, instances where Groove and Blur would have shared the same screen, so we don't really know to compare. But I wouldn't have said Blur is the size of a Combiner Limbot. Really wouldn't have. But this has been out a little bit of a while now, and it isn't trying to be in keeping, and I do think combiners, as I said before, get a bit of a pass because they're trying to keep within each other and to make a combined form. But yeah, I just thought as I was picking this up, I thought, oh, you're not actually that big. I wonder how big you are compared to him. The window frame does give a little bit of a false illusion, but I thought I'd show that anyway. Okay, let's get this guy on the open road, shall we? And here he is in his alt mode. And that is a lovely looking police bike. I think what they've managed to achieve is a really good alt mode, a pretty good robot mode as well, and actually a good transformation in between. Probably out of the 4 releases of this set now, I would say this is the best transformation of the lot. Ignis one is fine. I do feel Ignis's legs are a bit unnecessarily hard, sort of unnecessarily. It's part of the combined mode, but it's fiddly. For what is otherwise a fairly straightforward transformation, this is intuitive. Now, I have seen a couple of reports of issues during transformation and breakages. I was pleased to say, for a change, I didn't have any trouble with mine. And for the head going in at the front here, with the front wheel, the front axle and the handlebars, it would have a tendency to chip, so people are like, do not turn the head because that's going to cause paint chippage, particularly with the gold face. It will look very apparent. And also with fellow reviewer Carnage Creations, Chris had trouble with the entire front section on his one. You'll see on his video, I'll put a link in the eye above the head, is that came off completely. So I know there is issues with other people's copies. I was a little bit careful with mine, but at the same time, I didn't feel like anything was going to break. I really liked how the rear tyres go together as one singular tyre, being cut in half and then kind of loop through, because these are the feet of robot mode, making the back cab of the bike, and it kind of rotates through on itself. It's a nice little pendulum effect. I do think bikes are tricky to do as alt modes, and I think this is a very good job of it. It does have its comically large size that Groove has, but otherwise, yeah, I think it's a really good alt mode. Let's get in for a closer look. So you'll see here, if I get him a bit more closely and into focus, I love these engine gubbins here on the side. I think that really adds to the figure. Things like the sheriff star going on. It says police on the back. These are the guns, of course, from the legs in robot mode. You could take it off for a cleaner look. I think that's really nice. This would obviously fold down to give that full collapse look. There it is at the back. Underside is fine, has its kickstand. It's just really well done. I'm really pleased with it. Also, get this, a little bit firm on manoeuvrability, but that's cool. How the front wheel turns with the handlebars, and actually the central dial does as well. Actually, I think that's the bit that's catching, which is a shame. You can sort of see there's even nice little speedometers on the go. Nice little feature. These are a bit of a firm rubber, so they're not going to break. The handles themselves are on a ball joint. It's just really nice detail going on. I do really like it. You could argue that what else do you do with a bike? There isn't too much more you can do, but I just think they've done a really good job here. I think it's a very good looking bike. It feels good in your hand. It's like a model in many ways. I've collected bikes in years gone by, models of them that is, and this kind of feels like that. It doesn't come across as a transformer as such. It comes across as a real world bike. I think that's really cool. Now I am led to believe that you can actually store Groove's weapon back here. I think I've seen a photo of that, and I would show you, but I've misplaced his gun. I haven't had this in my collection long at all, and already I've lost bits. It will turn up somewhere, but I believe that's where you can store it, or at least somewhere around the rear section. I have seen a photo to that effect prior to this vehicle's release. But yeah, there is otherwise no other storage that I've come across for his arm boomer, his big megaphone horn thing, and of course the other faces can't store in here either. Now in terms of who you can have riding him, it's an awkward one. I think probably the best one will be the Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime. He might have the right amount of posability and articulation to get into that pose of sitting on the seat, bending the knees and holding onto the handlebars. With a Masterpiece figure, I've just tried with Hot Rodimus, the Takara Hot Rod, and it's just that bit too big. I've tried with smaller Chug figures, and they don't have the articulation, so it's awkward. I don't know who's going to be the best one to do it. I'll have to play around with it. My Prime is in truck mode currently, so I'll have to put a photo up to that effect. I reckon a figure will fit on him to give that riding effect, but not really sure as who's the best fit will be at the moment. Okay, on to some comparisons. Here he is alongside MMC's Navigant. This really is where it's like, alright, what scale are we working to here? These are both police vehicles, and the bike is considerably bigger than the police car. It's long been that way. I do wonder if a police bike really made sense, but this was always a problem with Groove, and this is why in the Combiner Wars one they had to make a bigger version because the bike is not big, and he was just a small add-on in the Combiner Wars originally before they made a deluxe one. They look fairly cool together. Again, I do think this white of Groove outshines this grey that's used and just kind of makes Streetwise look dull by comparison. But yeah, that's how they look, the two leg bots side by side. Here he is alongside Medicus, their first aid. Like how these two look, the stockier vibe here really helps, even though Groove is bigger. But yeah, they are still pretty cool. You can see how much bigger this guy is. He's still really cool, but he arguably does not keep with his fellow brothers, but I don't know, they fold up a bit more maybe, they cascade more. So yeah, but this is how they look. It's still a good look. Nice paint scheme as well. They really complement each other. And now scale goes completely out the window. Here is a very large bike against a very large fire truck. Here is alongside MMC's Ignis, their hotspot. Yeah, it is what it is. It's not meant to be too in keeping, but the two larger figures of this set, they really do make the others dwarf. I mean, if I put them side by side, there you go. There's the full team. It is cool seeing them all together though. They really have got that emergency vehicle vibe going on, particularly if you get them in a squad. You do see it. It does kind of shine. They complement each other. They really do. But yeah, when the bike is arguably taller than the fire truck, but bigger than the police car, I don't know. It's awkward. They are made, as I always say, with the combined mode in mind. But they are a good set together. Just for something completely different, here he is alongside one of my recent reviews in Magic Square's Masterpiece scale, Swindle, their munitioner. Again, scale is different, two different companies, but they are both going to be leg bots of combiners, and they are maybe a little bit more in keeping, where some of the other Protectobots have come up a bit small alongside munitioner. But yeah, this is my one with the breakage to it. But yeah, that's how they look. Two different companies, but both going for combiners. This guy going for an all-in-one look, where this guy has a big faux foot. Okay, let's get this guy in his leg mode, shall we? So my camera died, annoyingly. So I thought I'd just show you on my phone. Yeah, here he is, as a foot. I'm very pleased to say it's a very straightforward transformation from the bike mode. As you can kind of see, he is still largely bike form. The only change is this centerpiece that comes out from the engine hood of the chest, splits in half and you peg it into the side of the engine. And then these two pegs at the top come out, which will be part of the latch for combine mode, where the legs will go in. And then you rotate this section around. It's a little bit stiff there, and I was a little bit concerned about it. Again, I checked with the transformation video. This just seems to sit in the groove. Oh, sorry, yeah, you split the seat that's there as well, and the tyre sits into the middle of it. It just seems to sit, it doesn't seem to attach. You bend down the axles, the suspensions, and yeah, there he is. He's going to plug into the existing foot on Ignis, and that's how he is going to look. There's not really much else to say about it. You can install a weapon still on the other side of the legs if you want to. It might give a bit of a cleaner aesthetic if you don't. But yeah, that's how he looks otherwise. He is definitely a leg. So what is my view on the Emperor's New Groove? I guess I didn't have any preconceptions going into this, but I was very impressed come the end of it. And possibly what did it for me was arguably the transformation and the alt mode come the end of it. I felt it was fun, and it left me with a good feeling, whereas my previous review of Swindle, Munitioner from Magic Square, was anything but. So I went into this thinking, okay, what's this going to be like? And I was very impressed. I've said this time and time again, MMC do so many more hits than misses. This is another exception of that, or another example, I should say. The paint scheme for this guy is doing a lot of the work, particularly in robot mode. I'm very glad it's not just solid white, because I think that could look a bit dull and a bit unimaginative. The gold and the silver really break it up, and that even comes through in alt mode as well, with the robot mode, or the robot gubbins making the engine, the gold side largely being on the underside. It's just, for me, it's the right proportion for the bike, if this is what you want. If it was going to be a real world bike, it'd be considerably smaller, then what leg mode would it be? I think this is good. I think they've done the right thing. Even if it does look a bit silly alongside a car, and it does, but look, these two are going to be legs for a combined mode. They've got to be somewhat similar, even though a bike will never compare to a car. My only nitpick, and it is a very minor one, I know it's true to the character, but like I said, the gold eyes or the gold everything face can look a little bit, it's just a bit monotone, a bit nothing, in as much as there's no definition. The head sculpt on First Aid is so good. The blue visor with the white mouthpiece really makes it, with the red head as well. So you've got differences, definition for eyepieces. For Groove, it's just all gold, and you kind of can't tell when the eyes stop and the nose starts going down to the cheeks and the face. So I would have liked it if there was maybe a different shade or black eye visors, but it's true to the character's design. What are they going to do? They have to keep that homage. I understand that. It's just something I would have liked. Do really like that MMC are doing their transformation videos. I'll put a link to that below. It's what I use to go with this. I tried doing the instructions, but I think we're of a day and an age now that companies are doing promotional videos, manuals, transformations. It just makes it easier. You can actually see how much force needs to be applied as well. Again, not that I felt that anything was going to break here. I really do like what it does. I really did like how it transformed, and I really liked how it came out at the end of it. My concern now is this guy. He is really big. I'm a sucker for a big bot. I like it, but yeah, when you put the three of them alongside this, it does look a bit almost silly, I suppose. This is where I feel the all-in-one feature holds them back a little bit. But it's a route they went down, and he's going to hold a lot of the combiner parts. Other than that, not too much else to say. He comes with interchangeable faces. He didn't need that big speaker thing to go in his hand. I didn't think it was massively necessary. The gun is fine, if I can find it again. The rear rockets are good. The transformation's good. It looks really good. Feels good, considering diecast is very limited with this figure, but that leads to the price point. It's under £100. It's very, very fair, considering how much you can pick this up for. What, £80, £90? That's all right. You can get it any cheaper. That's even a bonus still. I think it's a very good job. I think there's very limited offerings on Groove on the market. I think X-Transbot's one was received okay. It's not one I've handled. Based on all this, and I'll be a little bit generous here, I'm going to give this 4.25 Rodimus Star Badges. Just think it really does jobs well. And I say with MMC, I'm finding few things to complain about it. They do so much more right than wrong. And that comes across with this figure. It's another good release from them, which I can't actually say for all of their releases, but weapon storage, accessories, price point, looks good, transformation's fair. I mean, I can't say too much negative about it. It's a very good release. It's a very good figure. And there we go. That is my review of PS-24 Incertus from MMC Ocular Max, their version of a Generation 1 Groove. I'll stick some photos up at the end. Thanks for watching. And as always, I will see you on the next one.